Gage here, BW Sports 1, Global Combat News. Just here to give you a little betting breakdown on today's UFC on Vegas 95 card. Just going to give you 3 underdog picks that I think you might want to make, as well as my lock of the card. Stay tuned. The first upset pick you're going to want to look into making is Jonathan Diaz over Carl Williams. I believe at the moment Williams is something like a minus 200 favorite. He's 3-0 in the UFC. He's got a very heavy top pressure grappling style. All 3 of his wins have come by decision, and it was pretty much him smothering his opponents from top position the whole time. Diaz, on the other hand, is 1-0 in the UFC. He's coming off of a first-round KO over Austin Lane after getting the contract on the Contender Series. Williams is there to be hit most fights he's in. Like I said, he's been the distance all 3 of his UFC fights. Now he has controlled from top position most of his fights, but I think there is enough time, especially early on in the fight, where Diaz could find that chin and it could be trouble for Williams. So minus 200 line, with the type of power that Diaz has, I would definitely be looking into making that upset pick. Upset pick I'd be looking into making is Kwong Lee over Chris Gutierrez. Now, on my straight picks, I did pick Gutierrez. I feel like he wins this fight just based on experience alone. He started out 7-0 in the UFC. I believe he's 1-2 since then, so he's on a little bit of a skid. The guy he's fighting, Kwong Lee, is making his UFC debut, but he has a lot of experience in LFA. It looks like he's pretty good everywhere. He's got an even mix of subs and an even mix of stoppages due to strikes. So if you're looking for a plus 425 return on a underdog that might not win but might make it interesting, Kwong Lee. There's no reason to bet for Chris Gutierrez with minus 600 odds. Now, the last underdog pick I'll be looking into making is actually going down in the main event between Marcin Tybura and Sergey Spivak. This is a rematch of their first matchup in 2020, which Tybura won by decision. Right now, I believe the line's at plus 140 underdog for Tybura and about a minus 160 favorite for Spivak. Both these guys are UFC heavyweight staples by now, both inside the top 15, both have wins against ranked opponents, and both have losses against ranked opponents. Strictly for this one, I'm going to stick to styles. I think that both of them have pretty much stayed the same stylistically since their first matchup in 2020, so I don't see too much of a reason to change the pick. I think the outcome remains the same. Tybura, this time he might get a sub, I feel. So if you're looking for an underdog around the plus 160 line, I would take Marcin Tybura in the main event. Last but not least, my lock of the card is Youssef Zalal over Jarno Aarons. Zalal's in his second stint inside the UFC. I believe in the first he went 3-3. He's always been regarded as a good prospect. It was probably best for his development and his career that he went outside the UFC during that stretch, and it has seemed to work for him as he won 4 in a row, I believe, and then was brought back to the UFC where he won his return fight in an upset over Billy Quarantillo. Zalal has all the tools to become a ranked fighter in this division, and Aarons, on the other hand, is 1-2 inside the organization. Hasn't looked all that impressive, and he's been stopped due to subs before, so I think Zalal finds that neck at some point inside of 2 rounds. I would say probably guillotine, maybe rear naked choke. The line on it is Zalal is a heavy favorite, I believe minus 450, so you wouldn't make much money betting on it, but if you want a lock, Youssef Zalal over Jarno Aarons.
3, 2, 1, fight!